improvement, and what am I going to do to make it better? What am I going to do to get to that self mastery level?
Yeah, that and that's so key. And like you mentioned, and you brought in, a very powerful term, self mastery, right? And being able to, you got to conquer yourself personally, and that's an inside outside job, right? Inside, get over the repetitious boredom of still learning when you feel like you know it. Still learning when you feel like, okay, well, I know how to work buyers. I know how to I know how to contractually put a deal together. That's all great. And yet what of the back end to get into deals? How are we doing at the mastery over our time, our efficiency, our scripts, our ability to understand our lead generation? And I've asked this a few times, and this is, I think, something that's important around self-mastery. Everybody right now, it's tax season, right? So would you expect your current your CPA to understand the most up-to-date tax law to save you the most money possible? Would you expect it? Would that be just an expectation? Yay or
Yeah.
nay?
Yeah.
Yes.
How about your real estate attorney? Would you expect your real estate attorney to know exactly everything up to date on how to avoid any legal issues? Would you say yeah?
Yes.
How about doctors?
Yeah.
Would you expect your doctors to understand the current most up-to-date case studies about health in your particular area, maybe health opportunities, right? Challenges. So whereas real estate agents, where do we feel we can not have to show up to courses, classes on the best practices on how to service our clients better? By the way, when we understand how to offer better customer service, better systems, better, even us being able to lead generate for our buyers to find them properties in this market without as much competition that there is. How are we doing it and showing up as a true fiduciary for them, not only understanding everything it takes for them to buy a home or sell a home without any issues or risk or losing money, and then also putting them in the best position to win in the first place?
The one thing that I would say is, looking at this list, I can see that, especially for newer agents or some that have come through an appointment and it didn't go well or whatever, all of this could seem a little overwhelming, right? So I would just encourage just to pick 2 or 3 things, and get good at those, and then take the next 3, and then take the next 3. It's just a big list, so just chomp it down and get to the ones that that you would help you the best or the most, and would help you excel and improve your business.
Love that. Thank you so much for that, Mary Jo. So good.
That's good. Thanks. Yeah, I agree.
Good one, yeah.
Chunk it down. And by the way, stay in curiosity, right? And what we're saying is just stay in curiosity. And so I appreciate y'all being here and being willing to have this conversation. So speaking of staying in curiosity, how about our conversion rates? Let's do a little bit of math, my friends. So everybody see on my screen? So this is your page 18. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. So one of the best practices of top listing agents, again, learning from the best, right? Learning off of models, knowing their numbers. Do you know your own, right? So we know that our top listing agents know their numbers. Are we in awareness of what our numbers are? So one of the most important numbers is our conversion ratios. So that's how many appointments it takes for us to get a signed seller agreement. And here's a great quote from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Converting leads to appointments and converting appointments to listings, meaning seller agreements, are huge drivers of your economic success. They are both accomplished by skilled presentation with a firm grasp of scripts and dialogues. Question: if these are going to be the huge drivers of our economic successes, the conversion rate, and these conversion rates are accomplished by our skilled presentation and scripts and dialogues. Question, out of show of hands or throw it in the chat box, how many of us are overjoyed to practice our scripts and our presentations? Anybody? Anybody overjoyed? And James, you strike me as a highly enthusiastic person. And you even gave me the little waffle, the waffle hand. Yeah, you know. Right? Alicia, you're gonna say?
So much fun.
Yeah, I could tell in the tone. Right? I mean, let's
So
go
fun.
back to it. Even as you know, if you were to even ask, I can assure you, whether it be a Derek or any of the top performers out there, how would you rate your scripts? They would scripts and dialogues and presentation. The most they would probably give themselves would be about a 9. That's after years of dedication, maybe an 8 on average. And yet, is there room for improvement there? So just going back to what this says, going foundationally, where's our opportunity? So I want you to do some quick math. If you got your numbers, great. And if you don't, we'll work on it. So how many, on average, how many contacts do you make per week? Now, contacts, phone conversation, meaning you talk to a seller, and in this case, we'll take a buyer, but what we're focusing on is sellers. So how many sellers do you talk to on average per week? Just throw that number in there. And again, I'm going to put the student manual in the chat box there so that way you have it. On your page 18, how many contacts do you make per week on average with sellers? All right. So then the next part is how many of those meet your definition of a lead? So you talk to 50 people, 50 sellers maybe in a week, and you find that there's only maybe 5 of those potential sellers that are a actual lead. And we'll talk about the definition of a lead here shortly. Right? They're gonna move. They're gonna do something. Right? Make a move. Within a particular time. And the lead, the time frame on the lead, what really a lead is having motivation, right? Clarity of what they're doing and when they're going to do it, and more particularly their time frame in which they're going to take action is what we consider a lead or not. Okay. So how many of those meet that definition of a lead? And then how many of those leads become seller listing appointments? How many of those people become seller listing appointments on average? Okay, so we're just working to get average numbers here. So if you talk to 50 people a week, you find 5 leads. Out of those leads, those 5 leads, you get 1 seller appointment typically. How many appointments sign the listing contract? So how many appointments might you have to go on in order for you to sign a listing agreement? So once we get clarity on these numbers, now, by the way, I mean, I'm asking, and you can track these as simply as on a Excel spreadsheet. So if you were to set up an Excel spreadsheet and you had a sheet that went weekly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, right? And then just continue to save those numbers. One of the things that helped me when I was an agent, I got into coaching right away, and yet I could tell you my conversion rates just for about most years that I was in real estate. How many people I had to talk to, how many showings I had to go on to set an appointment, to open an escrow, so literally just down the line, I could tell you. So because that helped me create efficiency. So getting into the habit of tracking the numbers that's going to be a big key here. So going back and thinking about your numbers. And so, by the way, and I love the steps 1, 2, and 3, right? Contacts to lead conversion, leads to appointments conversion, and then appointments to listing contracts and conversion. All of those are going to show up in terms of percentages, as you see there, calculating the contacts to leads, right? Appointment conversion rate, calculating the leads to appointments conversion rate, and then calculating listing contracts to appointment conversion rate. So here's something I'm gonna share with you. Give me a quick second. I'm not sharing my screen anymore. I don't think so. Good. I want to share with you a sheet or a conversion metric in bold that we use to kind of share what's working, right? How do you know your conversion rate is good? So give me a second. I think it was day 4. In the meantime, what questions or ahas are you finding in this exercise? Anybody?
I was thinking, Brian,
Yeah.
I was thinking that you're reminding me again of the consistency you need to make a listing, you know. What I was thinking as you were talking that sometimes if we think of the numbers, it can become drudgery, you know, instead of, it's, you know, it's our perspective. If we look at it as more of as an adventure, I don't know if that makes sense. You know, because sometimes we look at that number, it can be kind of overwhelming, you know, and then it becomes kind of a drudgery thought instead of thinking of it as, you know, this is exciting. I'm going to go out and meet new people. I'm just going to go ahead and talk to people, and there's going to be potential in that. I know we have to be more systematic, but I think our attitude, if it's all drudgery, then we won't do it. It'll be kind of a, you know, it'll be kind of something we'll won't be that enthusiastic about doing it, you know.
That's why, and can you see why? And that's a great point, Jaime. Is that can you see why mindset is the biggest opportunity in real estate? Is because if we see it's drudgery, or if we feel like it's drudgery, what is it going to be? It's going to be drudgery, right? And that's a good word too. Right?
Yeah,
it's a good word. Drudgery.
Opportunity.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to share this screen here, and because I found it, and this is if you don't get anything else from this session, I trust you get more. Yet if you don't get anything else from this, this is a sheet here for efficient prospecting. So low efficiency, so efficient prospecting. So low efficiency, medium, and then high. So low efficiency. So if you were to say, okay, how do I get my hours up? How do I get to be more efficient? 1 to 4 contacts per hour is considered low. Now, by the way, the contacts per hour here, those are independent of your contacts to appointment set, or and then contacts to take in. So those are different. So look at the lines independently of one another. So like 1 to 4 contacts per hour. Now in this market, not using dialers, not you know any of that, we should all be at least in this 5 to 7 contacts per hour. When you get to 8 to 10, you can be in jeopardy of getting contactitis, meaning just making contacts for contact's sake versus contacts for contract's sake. Did y'all get that? So just making conversations to talk to people versus actually getting and having conversations to set appointments. Y'all get that? So you want to be in the medium high to high realm per hour. So if you're going to say, if the MREA and what we just talked about in the previous part of this session talks about the amount of, let's just say the amount of hours spent lead generation. Who remembers the amount of hours time block was the recommended time per day to lead generate?
3.
3 hours. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Alicia, Patricia, and Mary Jo. So, and then now, if that's the 3 hours, how many contacts should we be having per day? Conversations per day?
15 to 25-ish.
Right, exactly. Right, 15 to 25 is per day is where we should be, minimum 15 per 25 per day. So the question now, I want to ask you, and a lot of us consider we worked today. My question is, what do you consider work? Do you consider work creating a flyer, looking at homes on the MLS? Or is work building your database and making conversations happen and adding people to the database? Because once we get and change our definition of what we consider to be work, I believe that you start to see breakthroughs and changes happen in not only in your mindset and your routine. What do we consider work? Are we talking to people, 15 to 25 people on average minimum per day, specifically around who are considering selling their properties?
Is the approach for contacts in this first line, is the approach one-on-one, or could we do this through webinars or like?
Great question. I love that you asked that. So there's no, with technology, there's no limit. You can send emails, text messages, social media, Now, the rule of thumb in bold is that you're having a minimum of 50% of your contacts over the phone. By the way, you're probably not going to have a consultation or a pre-qualification conversation over text or email. That's not the best method. It's for you to start the conversation and then you lead it to a phone conversation once you have that drumming up of interest, and then set the appointment from there. Don't give your presentation away over the phone. I know a lot of us are guilty of that. And I could even raise my hand early on in my career of giving the presentation away over the phone. Because if we give it away over the phone, why else do they have for us to meet? Why would they meet with us if we told them everything? So what are you noticing around this chart? Like kind of open discussion here. What's standing out to you? So we got the hours, 60 contacts to one appointment, 24 contacts to one appointment, 32 contacts are listed. What listings taken? So what questions or awareness are you seeing as a result of this quick chart here? Oh, wait.
I'm seeing the answer to my question earlier today. 32 contacts equals one listing taken.
Best practices, absolutely. Now, in this market, might it be a little bit more? Now, the point is, who knows what it might be unless you track it. And the beauty of tracking, and there was another coaching company that I was, really big on before, jumping into MAPS coaching, was, and the common thread there is, we want our businesses to be as repeatable and duplicatable as possible. Let's get away from guessing when we're going to put deals in escrow, guessing when we're going to get our next transaction, guessing when we're going to be paid. I don't know about you. I don't like surprises, whether I'm making money or not. I want to know that I can expect it. And so one of the ways that we can expect income guaranteed 90 days from now would be us to have conversations starting today with sellers about their properties. Because when we're able to look at the trends, and to your point, Lorraine, about knowing how many people we need to talk to about taking listings and all the above, when we build off of those trends and we can see those numbers over time, we can then start to say, look, all I need to do for me to take a listing this month is I got to talk to 100 people a week. By the way, I want to kind of, jump on a question. I want to kind of get in this dialogue here. I got a question for everybody here. If I were to follow you around every single day, and I want us to have a dialogue, feel free to kind of unmute yourselves. And if I were to follow you around every single day and I personally gave you a job, right? And I said, hey, I'm going to give you $400 an hour for every hour that you consistently lead generate towards seller listings. And you from 1 hour from start to stop, 1 hour every single hour. My question to you, friends, how many hours would you lead gen per day if you had a guaranteed $400 per hour?
8 hours.
3 hours?
8 hours.
8. Okay, I got 8 hours. So my man Ernesto's going for, what is that? $3,200 a day. That's not bad. Good choice. What else?
8 to 10.
I'd probably give a strong 6.
6, 8 to 10. So what stops us from doing that?
Lack of motivation.
So lack of motivation, that's one.
And then maybe burnout. I mean, lead generating is not easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And yet, if that's the
I
one
think-
thing that could determine you being able to get that higher dollar per hour, could that be the most important thing?
Yeah, you got to push yourself past that.
And the other
Yeah.
thing is cutting away and saying no to things that don't matter right now or in this moment.
Yeah. I think Mercedes was going to say something. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
No, I
Thank
mean,
you, Alicia. I
Yeah,
was going to say how he led that into, oh, how much, if you were being paid $4.50 an hour, what we need to see ourselves as being paid more than that an hour up front to push us to do those goals. So when he said it right now, the thought is, yeah, 3,200 is good. However, we make way more money than that. So in the moment when we're lead genning, we need to continue to remind ourselves of our value and our worth while we're lead genning. If that makes sense. I trust that makes sense.
that makes a lot of sense.
It makes a ton of sense. I love that. Thank you for that.
Well, going back to the point of, the drudgery or the phone calls or the mindset is building confidence, right? And I think that we talked about this at our last team meeting in trying to develop some sort of side gig or, your community, things that you go to every week that makes it easier for you to contact people and talk to them naturally. And then the conversations kind of just come up.
Yep. And
Instead of having to go, who am I going to talk to?
so getting in the way of people that would push you to force that conversation.
Right.
And by the way, it always helps when you got your realtor shirt, your pin, your hat, right? Your realtor swag. Anybody a secret agent out there? Right? Hopefully not.
Name tags are great still, even though they may be out of fashion.
I'm not trying to be a secret agent. I did order some shirts. They just didn't work out. So I got to order some more.
There you go. Let's do it. By the way, we talked a little bit about that. So we said, let's look at some math. All right. So let's go ahead and look at, you can tell I'm a fan of math. Let's look at, okay, it takes me, let's say 3 hours a day. All right. So at those, and by the way, those conversion rates that we just mentioned. So 3 hours a day. All right. So 3 hours a day times 15 hours a week. That's 60 hours of lead generation, pure lead generation a month. Okay. A month. Right. And then, by the way, is anybody feel they would miss the mark on their goals if they did straight 3 hours of solid lead gen? Like, do you think that you would hit your goal if you did 3 hours straight lead gen a day, Monday through Friday? You think it's possible for you to hit the goal? Like, you did nothing else for those 3 hours?
Yes.
For sure.
Right.
Definitely.
Talking to seller listings and talking to sellers overall. So let's go over that math, right? So 3 hours a day, that's 15, that's 60 hours a month, okay? Because that's 15 a week, 60 hours a month, all right? That's Monday through Friday. And let's just say that you worked 10 months out of the year. That's 600. Now, if you said that you took, we kind of looked at our month, our numbers there, played around with one yes per day, turning into, and let's go back to this math. Let's go back to that math here. I like my scribbles. I'll go back to my scribbles. So if we went back to this math here and we said, and kind of highlight, we said we work 5 days a week, and the caveat would be 3 hours a day, set one a day, 5 days a week. That's basically 2 held a week. Because by the way, if we set 5 a week, and we have to pre-qualify these people, right? So you set 1 a day, 5 a week. You got to go and say, okay, well, how many are really going to actually interested in selling? You go on 2 appointments a week. You take 1 listing. You do that 4 times a month. So you take 4 listings a month. By the way, only 3 sell. I don't know how you could only sell 3 in this market, but if some client, said, you know what, I backed out, I'm not interested in selling anymore, stuff happened, right? So you only sold 3 in 10 months worth of work. We said 10 months, giving you 2 months off, 30 units at an average price point of $10,000. You said 300,000. Okay. So at $300,000 divided by, what did we say? 60 hours a week of pure lead generation. And we did 10 months. So that's 600 hours. Is that right? If we divided 300,000, that'd be $500 an hour. So you'd actually get a pay raise. I want to make sure I run that math again with you here.
Did you say 60 hours a week?
Yeah, so let's do this.
That's,
So if you did again, 3 hours a day lead generation times 5 days a week, that's 15 hours a week times 4. That's 60 hours a month.
a month.
You're only going to work 10 months out of the year because you deserved it. You worked your butt off in between that. All right. And you were able to do the numbers that I just showed you, 1 listing appointment a day over 5 days a week. You only went on 2 held. You took 4 contracts a month. Right. So that's overall 60 hours a year, 10 months out of the year of you hardcore lead generation. That's Monday through Friday. You get the weekends to yourself. Okay. With a family. And so that's 60, right? So then 600, excuse me. So let's just say in that scenario, you did $300,000 in gross commission income divided by that 600 hours. You see that $500 an hour? Anybody else see that hourly rate? Mary Jo sees it. Does that make sense? Anybody else out there?
Is no one excited about making $500?
I think we're in disbelief. Did I lose anybody on that math?
I think we're just in shock right now.
You see how we pieced that together? Samantha, she got a jaw drop. Anybody else?
The other thing I was thinking about,
Good.
what if that's accelerated with 2 big ones? That'd be kind of exciting.
Yeah,
Like a
exactly.
couple-
What if you, and then that's, by the way, you're double dipping. I mean, you're talking about doing higher price point, right? So what if your price point went up? So good point, right? William said, William, did I hear you? You're like, do it. Did you just say, just let's get it done?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely works well. Yeah.
So it's just what we choose to prioritize in our day that creates our ability to hit these numbers or not. Because I want to just, again, make it very simple about these conversion rates and what it is that we could do. So now, okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about conversion. And then we're going to continue to go. So give me a second. Let me get back to my slide here. 1 minute. So what are your thoughts as I get back to my slide? What are you hearing in this conversation so far? Are we going in an okay direction? Anybody? And by the way, no judgment. If you're not doing this yet, no judgment. We can all start towards this process. And by the way, it is a process. Would y'all agree?
For sure.
So give yourself some grace if you're not already close to these numbers or you're not there. You're like, how do I get there? It's all mindset. Once we choose that we can do it, now it's okay. What are we willing to do? What did the beginning of the chart say? Persistence, consistency, determination. All right, so now we're on our page. That's what happens when I got on a tangent there. I want to make sure we drove that home. We're on our page 20, okay? So lead conversion begins with this, right? So the focus is on the process of lead generation. Lead generation continues to be the unshakable foundational part of our business. So lead generation is also found in every step of the seller service cycle. As you gain referrals, as you add leads and clients by leveraging your listing opportunities, never lose sight of the fact that your business always starts with leads. Leads, and more leads, right? The first L of the leads, listings, and leverage model from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. So Gary Keller says at the bottom, words to wisdom, to succeed in real estate, you must have client leads. It's that simple. Until you have enough leads to meet or exceed your goals, there's no other issue. No matter if you are a doctor, lawyer, entrepreneur, everyone has 2 jobs. Their chosen profession and lead generation. Is that right?
That is right.
Absolutely.
Everybody has 2 jobs. Yes, we're realtors and we're lead generators at heart. Lead acquisitions, client acquisitions, whatever you want to call it. Now, here's the conversation that we were going to jump into now. Write and underline this thing down. Able, ready, and willing in that order. able, ready, and willing. Your job, your goal is to be the detective and pre-qualify every stinking lead that comes across your way to make sure that you are not wasting your time. Are there a lot of pretenders out there? Now, they come in two forms: buyers who say, hey, I want a home, and yet not willing to do what it takes, and then sellers who said, get me an unrealistic price. Our jobs is to qualify them. There's a great statement in here that says, in your workbook on page 21, and it says here, and I'm going to read this, start by saying, obviously we know all leads are not equal. Leads most deserving of your face time are those that are pre-qualified, able, ready, and willing to sell within a predictable time frame. Excuse me. And your definition will include the length of time. Remember, we were talking about the length of time when we consider leads to be actual leads. Length of time that suits the amount of business you are doing and the amount of activity in your market. Listen to this. If I'm doing 200 to 300 deals a year, I can't follow up a lead for 14 days. If I'm doing 25 deals a year, I can probably follow that lead for 30 days. So the busier you are, the shorter definition of a lead that you have. The busier you are, the shorter definition of a lead you have. What is the one constant in between 20 to 25, 30 deals a year, or 200 to 300? That assumes that you're going to lead generate at a phenomenally high level to hit those goals. Meaning that you're generating leads all day anyway, that you can say, you know what, at 200 and 300 deals a year, you're like, you know what, if you're not ready to list in 2 weeks, I'll put you on the back burner. If you're doing 30 deals a year or 25 deals a year, you may say, you know what, I'll follow up with you for 6 months. The less business that you're doing, the more willing we should be able to follow up, the more willing we are to be able to follow up with our leads. Does that make sense? So look at this, avoiding pitfalls. So at the bottom of your 21, not gauging client ability, readiness, and willingness correctly. Also, high motivation, like an unchangeable moving date, can trump other factors. So find those people who've got extreme motivation, who have to sell, who have to buy. And oftentimes as salespeople, our optimism gets in the way of us being able to clearly see who's a lead today and or who's not a lead. Does that make sense? I want to hear from a few people on that part, because I think that's critical. What are you hearing?
Well, I'm hearing that it's definitely more effective and most important to be able to pre-qualify your lead. And like you said, know when to put them on a drip campaign and move on.
Yep.
You know, if they're serious, they'll come back to you. As long as they're on your drip campaign, they're going to come back to you. But it's to move on and keep going to get yourself some momentum.
I love that. Thank you for that, Mary Jo. What else? What else? Thoughts?
I think it's time. I think this also goes back to time too. Like we're, how this is also helping us like guard our time, and are we wasting too much time on someone that's not ready right now? Can we just talk to them? Check in here and there, but not pour all our time. And just like Mary Jo was saying,
We got a lever for that as well. So we're gonna talk about that even more on our next page. Sam, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm hearing Pareto's law, 80-20 rule.
Yes.
So you're spending 80% of the time to generate 20, or you can spend 20% of time to generate 80%.
Yes, sir. Well said. Yeah, that's a really great point. And by the way, 20% of your clients will probably offer you 80% of your referrals, right? Those type of ratios. Also, you may have 20% of your clients that give you 80% of your headaches. Might be a different set of clients as well, right? Consider that. On your page 22, take a look at that and talking about time and how to spend, with certain clients. A leads, B leads, and C leads, right? So with sellers, it's about defining their motivation. And we say it over and over again, the measure by motivation. How soon do they need to be in XYZ, right? And why? So you look at able, ready, and willing to do business in A's, right, are 0 to 14 days. Daily follow-up to secure an appointment, right? And so with that 0 to 14 days, you're following up with daily. So look at that action. If a lead is a B, able, ready, and willing within 15 to 60 days, then you're talking with them every 2 to 3 days or at least once a week. If they're a C, they're 60 days or more, 61 days or more, then you're checking base with them monthly, once a month. So that's why, can you see why having motivation is so critical? Because once we have their motivation, now then we have the ability to determine how we're going to follow up with them. So do's and don'ts of the lead generation. This is on the bottom of your page 22. So high production listing agents do this, right? So they practice highly productive lead generation, practice and generate leads that meet their definition of a lead. How about that? I can say that twice. Practice, prospect and generate leads that meet their definition. What is your definition of a lead? Do you have a clear, by the way, my definition is a little different. I'm gonna go back to A, B, and C. So instead of looking at 2 weeks in our business, we measure 30 days or less for an A. And B's in our world are 30 to 60 days. C's are 60 to 90 days, and then we added a D bucket, 91 to 365. By the way, right now as it stands, we're not adding anybody in the database that doesn't have a sellers anyway that doesn't have a motivation by at least 1 year to do something within 1 year. Are you working and overly exerting yourself for people who said they're going to buy in a year and a half, 2 years? Throw them on a drip campaign and then check back in when they're getting closer to that time, like Mary Jo said. Okay. So going back to that bottom of page 22, high production listing agents don't rely solely on internet to feed them leads, right? They don't change or add methods of lead generation randomly. Oh, we could stop right there and have a whole conversation about that. Excuse my passion and energy for this. Oftentimes we don't give ourselves and or our lead sources enough time to cultivate. Oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough time to see and master a particular lead source to see our skill set develop and convert those leads. It's first I'm gonna do expireds, then I'm gonna move to for sale by owners, then I'm gonna move for open houses, then I'm gonna do online leads, then I'm gonna pay for Zillow, then I'm going to do trust sales, then I'm gonna work on divorce, then I'm gonna, and then we zigzag and playing out with all of these lead sources. Here's, if I could give you a hack for that, we know that 80% of our top agents receive 90% of their business from just 5 sources. Most of those, by the way, come from the top 3. Referrals, right? So repeat business, so past clients, those referrals, and then your SOI database. Most of that business comes from those 3 sources right there. Your repeat clients doing business with you again, your referrals from those clients, and also sphere of influence referrals, and then business doing and working actually with your SOI, sphere of influence, and database. About 70 to 80% of your business comes from those 3. The other 15 to 20% or so comes from 1 or 2 additional listing specific sources. Notice that I said listing specific sources. What could that be? Expireds, for sale by owners, door knocking, circle prospecting, farming, you name it, probate, trust sales, REOs, notice of defaults, builder business, right? Small time business, builders, investors. Do I need to keep going? There's so many options that we can build our businesses around It's just up to us to lean into it more. And take just and be disciplined and pick 2, max 2. And then go into mastery around those 2. Does that make sense? High producing listing agents don't wait for number of leads they need to hit their goals, right? They don't wait, they go out and get it. And they don't skip follow-up. They do not skip follow-up. There's a metric out there, 70% of our appointments come from follow-up. So now that assumes that you've already made a connection, you've had dialogue, you've conversed, right? You know their motivation, and that goes into A, B's, and C's, right? A, B's, and C's. So once you get that lead into your database and you categorize them as an A, by the way, in Command, you can add a tag, or you can go into opportunities and you can load up your opportunities and categorize them accordingly, A, B's, and C's. Once you have that set up, now you're just going back and checking in with their motivation, doing that follow-up. So what are you hearing me say? Take a quick step back. Questions, thoughts, ahas? By the way, AHA stands for Agents Helping Other Agents. So let's help each other out. Share some of the knowledge. Sam, how you doing?
Yeah, it reminded me the book I read, The One Thing,
Yes,
from
sir.
Gary Keller.
Great book.
Yeah, so just unless you don't start new thing, just finish one thing, squeeze everything from there first.
Master that. So develop that mastery. I love that. Thank you for bringing that up. By the way, are we in mastery around our resources, our systems, our technology, our company resources, our models? Great point, Sam. What else? What else you're hearing? Who haven't we heard from yet? What else are we hearing? Eva, Isabel. Well, Isabel, you said something here earlier. Mario, Marcos, Terry, Charles, Min, Vanessa, Andy, are you there? Are you there? Hello? Hello? Get my Adele on. You see what I did there? Anybody? We might have to start putting a rule up here soon. If your screens aren't on, you don't get to come in. Sheesh. It's tough. Like talking to a brick wall. Anybody ever talked to a brick wall before? How did that go? Anyone? Poking fun. I'm poking fun. It would be great to hear some conversation from my folks here.
They never talk back, that's for sure.
Yeah, brick walls don't talk back. All right. So lead conversion. Let's jump into our lead conversion model. So you see this on your page 23. So this is a very important chart. Kind of works with the flow of the dialogue that we just talked about. So capturing leads, and you see that definition at the bottom. Lead conversion is all about pre-qualifying a lead and getting them into an appointment, right? Getting to the table quickly. So if you don't pre-qualify, we know that give me a second. If we don't pre-qualify, then putting them into your database and moving on to the next lead, we're just going to be throwing junk into our database at the end of the day. So, one of the most important numbers that top listing agents track is their conversion and qualified leads to appointments and how quickly they can determine that pre-qualification. So look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we capture. Here's a definition of capture. So leads, capture leads by getting their contact information. So whether you're at a the grocery store, drive-through, restaurant, over the phone, right? Referral. If you're talking to a friend, family, past client, and they say, hey, I've got somebody potentially, capturing that data, capturing that information, connecting, establishing a relationship, closing, obviously closing for the appointment and eventually getting them buy and sell property, real property, and then cultivate, maintaining and strengthening the relationship over time. So leads to keys to lead conversion. So, obviously capture valid information and complete contact information. Be fast, be quick in responding to opportunities, determining motivation. Are they ready, able, ready, and willing? and then converting those leads. So convert to an appointment and get them a pre-listing package and move them into your touch database. So you're only going to have a small window for follow-up with a qualified seller, especially in this market. So it's very critical for us to get there quickly. There's a great conversion ratio here that's been said, is that your chances of winning the client are good if you get to the appointment as soon as possible. So here's some words of wisdom for Gary Keller. Write this down, highlight it, mark it up, take a picture of it, put it on your bathroom mirror, whatever. Getting to the table first or second is what matters. This makes conversion more important than presentation. I want you to hear me on this. Break state, right? Wake up. This makes conversion more important than presentation. What are you hearing there? Lead follow-up, right? Lead follow-up is more important than actually knowing what to say in a presentation. Because if you get to the table, number one or number two, 77% of sellers choose the first two agents that they interview for the job. New agents, hear that stat. Veteran agents, hear that stat. 77% of sellers choose the first two agents that they meet with. By the way, majority only pick one. It's like 50 something, 54% or so pick one. Choose, interview only one. 77% interview two. So what does that tell you?
The early bird gets the worm.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Sam?
Yeah.
I was gonna say agents are lazy because I was trying to sell my house and I was looking for agent, tried so many people, nobody even respond. So you're right. The first who responded me, I gave the listing to them.
Wait a second. Breaking news. Did you just hear that? This was not a plant. I did not know Sam was going to say that. Sam, I think I'm going to pay you anyway. But can you please say that again? Give some feedback to us agents here. What did you just say?
Yeah, because one of my rental property in Houston, Texas. I live in California. I was looking for agent to list that house, and I reached so many people. Nobody even respond, or they respond like maybe 2-3 days later. So I was like so frustrated. I said, "How come can you be so lazy?" So the person who responded me, I gave the listing to them.
Literally gave the listing because he couldn't find somebody that was following up.
Yeah, and I was desperate, so I wanted to sell it quick. So yeah.
By the way, in Houston, there's a lot of phenomenal agents in Houston, by the way, right? And yet, point is, even in Houston, there was still a gap. There was still a gap in follow-up. Hey, by the way, when you hear that, does anybody get excited? Like I hear that, I'm like, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for the opportunity out there. That means our competition is asleep.
Yeah.
Is anybody excited about that? Like stuff like that, Sam, I mean, that fires me up. I think we should just take a break right now and just jump on the phones. Anybody? Isabel?
Yeah, I mean, that was exciting to hear because obviously we think like, oh my gosh, there's so many agents trying to get to these sellers. And then we have him like that saying nobody called him back, so definitely just do it.
Yeah. Well said. When in doubt, quote Nike. That's it. That's all you got to do. Love it. Love it. Thank you for that. Appreciate that, Sam. Great point. And you know what? I was so, my breath was taken away so well. I didn't even finish the quote. So this makes conversion more important than presentation. The competitive battle is almost single-handedly won simply by getting an appointment before someone else does. Right? So successful lead conversion outcome. Here's how we know we're winning. And here's our model. Is business building conversations aim to achieve these goals in this order. This is at your bottom of page 24. When you're on the phone and you're talking to somebody about their property, Your number one priority is to get the appointment. In the event you don't get the appointment, the second opportunity is to get a referral. In the event that you don't get the referral, what does that tell you? It potentially tells you you don't have a strong enough relationship or in rapport with that person. So number 3 is strengthen the relationship. By the way, I literally had to dial hundreds and hundreds of people to get this aha right here. Agents helping other agents with their thoughts and ideas, perspective. Meaning, as a new agent, there was a moment where I literally sat and I dialed, Mary Jo, can you believe it? I sat from 8 a.m. to about 8 p.m. I literally sat and hand dialed about 90, no, more than that, hundreds of people. I talked to about 94 people one day. Literally, I'm a new agent. I'm like, I'm as hungry as you could be, as you could come, right? Like ribs touching kind of thing, that hungry. And literally dialed 94 people in one day. Talked to, I'm sorry, not even dialed. I dialed hundreds. It was like 400 people I dialed. I talked to 90 something. And I did not set one appointment.
Oh,
I did not set one appointment. Talk about contactitis, right? I get on the phone, ready to quit with my coach, right? She talks me off the ledge. Thank God, right? To this day. She says, you know, what did you learn from it? I said, I don't know. What did you learn from it, coach? She says, well, let me ask you a question. How many people did you close? Did you ask for the appointment? I sat back in my chair and I said, well, dang. How many people did you give a presentation away over the phone? I probably could count about 5 people that day that I literally gave the presentation. I gave a presentation away over the phone versus setting an appointment. Right? Learn from that, right? If that doesn't, that's something I would really encourage. Are you asking for the order? Are you asking for the agreement? Are you asking for the appointment on the phone to set those appointments up? James, you're gonna say something?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna just say, as you were talking, I was thinking about sometimes we can be talking, we're not listening. And the people can be giving us some ammunition to sell them, but we're so busy because I've seen salesmen do it to me when they call me.
Yep.
They give me a presentation and then they don't listen to what I'm saying. I could be giving them ammunition, but they don't listen. They just want to get the presentation in. No, that makes sense.
that's so important because in your conversations, you're going to hear motivation. You're
That's the
gonna-
other thing from our natural, some of us are natural listeners and some are natural speakers. And the natural speakers have trouble usually listening because they want to talk, which isn't bad. We need to talk, but sometimes you have to dial back things so you can listen. And that might be a skill you don't do too well, You might do the speaking well, but you don't do the listening very good.
That's so good.
It's kind of hard.
That is so good. Yeah. And that's why it's important to know our scripts. By the way, how many of us here over the line may have ever gotten caught up on the phone thinking about what you're going to say next versus actually listening and taking notes? I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
So once we know our scripts, then we can now start to get right back into the dialogue around listening.
Well,
That's why
scripts do have a dangerous way of having you go to your next point, right? So even though you have your scripts, it's very important for the listening side of things. Then you're going to stray from the scripts and get into conversation, right?
So true. So true. Thank you for that. So capturing, so on page, what is this? Page 25. Thank you for that, Mary Jo. So how we capture. So capturing should always focus on getting enough information so that way you can actually contact that prospective client, right? Getting the most important information. So in conversation, just add, hey, by the way, what's your number, email, address? No lead is captured, and look at this note here. No lead is captured until you have their information, so that way you are in control, and how often you can follow up with them. So here's the opportunities with seller leads. Obviously, we know that. Somebody who's selling their residence, we know that obviously they're moving to private residence. So the opportunity may include winning the listing, right? And then you may actually help them buy another property. So this is just highlighting the opportunities of sell listings. Job relocation. You look at the notes here, winning the listing, becoming a listing agent for the relocation company potentially, and then referring the seller to an agent in the new area, new location. So one of the great things that, about our company, Sam, moving forward, is that that you can find a listing agent in Houston by using our technology because of our referral platform that we've got moving forward. And so you don't have to ask anymore. You can go in and pull up the Keller Williams referral platform and find an agent anywhere in the country, all the way down to the neighborhood, and have contact information. And by the way, you reaching out to the top 3 people, by the way, you can filter out who's sold at least 12 transactions or more, seller transactions or more in the last 12 months. And now people who are going to be active in there in that space. So just consider that, especially when working with people who are moving out of state and all the above. We can still get access to that referral fee. Don't forget about it. Investor seller, right? How about those opportunities to get repeat business from your investor clients? So going on page 26, once we capture that information, our number one priority then is to make sure that we get in dialogue, because if we don't get in the dialogue with that person, so this is in the event that you have somebody who reaches out to you and say, hey, Brian, I got a referral for you, or you're calling your SOI and your past clients and checking in, doing your care calls, and they say, well, you ask the question, who do you know that's still looking to make a move and sell their home in this market? Because we got a ton of buyers looking, and they say, well, hey, I've got somebody. And then you capture that information. So now the question is, how much effort do you put into getting in touch with that person? And so here's what that says on page 26, is you have 2 different approaches. The first approach is you schedule, again, 3 days back to back. Day 1, you're going to do this type of effort until you get in a hold of them. So you're going to call them at 9 a.m., call them at 1, and then call them at the end of day until you get a hold of them, right? So this is all stems. You only call them 3 days back to back, call, text, until you get a hold of them. What does it go right back to, right? It goes right back to the people who get to the table with sellers, the first and or second are 77% likely to get the deal. So for us, and by the way, referrals convert on an average of roughly 70%, 65 to 70%. So if you get a referral, it's 65% your deal. So you get a referral from a family member, a friend, a past client, a neighbor, 65% of the time they convert within 12 months or less. And it's your deal. They're not interviewing anybody else. As long as you follow this process of getting in contact with these people.
And it's important to try all 3 methods: call, text, email, because everybody has their preference, right?
Absolutely. So day 1, day 2, day 3. Again, if you contact them on day 1, do you need to call them again on day 2 or day 3? No, you don't. As long as you've just now at that moment, follow up next, go to the next conversation that you're supposed to have, whether it be get back to them with information, etc. You also have another option, 10 days of pain. That was actually curated by one of our great agents, Ben Kenny in KW, who's literally, it's imagine 10 days of call, text, email, call, text, email, call, text, email. That typically happens for online leads, by the way. The 10 days of pain, that's more of an online lead approach. So don't put your referrals on that. That typically, you should be able to get in contact with your referrals within the first 3 days of receiving that referral and reaching out, as long as you're doing the 9 o'clock in the morning, afternoon, and early evening and getting in contact with them. Okay. Now, has anybody's to themselves saying that's too much follow-up? Because I know how our mind works potentially, like, oh, I don't want to come off as bothersome. And yet, if you just made contact and you felt, hey, 65% of the time, if I just talked to this person first and met with them first by setting the appointment, would you be okay with calling, texting, and emailing to know that you have roughly a 70% chance of earning that commission? By the way, being a problem solver first, would you be okay with that? Because you're there.
Remember,
go for it.
The content of your emails that keep going out. You're going to want to give information and offers, special offers. It's not always, are you ready to sell, or I'm here, call me.
Right.
You know, you want to come from contribution, so give them things that help them to make their decision.
So true. So true. So, you know, and that's where you want to get into that belief of you are a problem solver, right? You deserve to have the opportunity to connect with these people and help them because you work hard. Like what we're doing today, we're literally spending a few hours working on ourselves and our businesses. Who else is more deserving than you to go out there and help more people and service them in their listing needs? Surely, who else? Are you going to wait until you sell 50 transactions a year? Forget about it. Right? We got to have it in our minds first before actually before actually going there and doing it. Because if it's not in our minds first, then it's not going to show up. So let's talk about connecting now, huh? So connecting with behavioral styles, pre-qualifying the sellers during capture. So this is a big one. So this is on your page 28. And on your page 28, and we're going to have Derek join us here probably in the next, say, 15 to 20 minutes. So stay tuned. And I know we're really not taking any breaks here because it's a lot of content. So if you got to use a restroom, go do what you do. Just make sure your mute is on and your camera's off. Thank you. So, page 28, connecting with behavioral styles. So if you see here, assertive, sociable, structured, steady. This is a big point because when we're connecting with folks, we actually have the opportunity to win. Actually, I lied. Derek joined us soon. He's here right now. Right. Hey, good morning, Derek. How you doing, man? And so behavioral styles. And when we start talking about behavioral styles, how important is it that we know our scripts first, so that way we can listen more attentively, right? Because when we're able to listen more attentively, now we can start to see and understand what type of behavior the people we're working with are. Does that make sense? Because by the way, if you are a high assertive, right? I gotta get this agreement. Let's get to the facts ASAP, right? And you've got somebody that's more maybe on the steady side of things, steady personality style, right? They're more on the, hey, let's if you see there on page 28, your handout, they listen attentively. They're calm demeanor, emotionally controlled, not fighting, not flighty or whimsical. When expressing a feeling or opinion, others are likely to trust, right? They're more of the stable personality style. And has anybody ever heard the concept of mirroring and matching?
Yes.
Absolutely, Derek has. Mirroring and matching. So, Derek, I mean, what are your thoughts on mirroring and matching? What is that approach? How are you using that to be able to generate rapport?
So I think the concept of mirroring and matching is if I show up when I'm 22 years old and speaking 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I'm dealing with a 75-year-old lady selling a house in West Covina that's been there for 30 years, she's going slow as molasses. She's not going to feel comfortable. Okay. So if they're leaning back, I lean back. If they're speaking at a certain pace, I speak at a certain pace. The whole concept is NLP related, saying people like doing business with people like them. It's that simple.
I love that. And so you're finding ways to build rapport, because if we know that people do business with people that they like, your goal is just to be likable then at that moment. And by the way, do people start to draw closer to people who maybe talk like them, who talk at the same rate of speech, who maybe use certain, lingo or characteristics like they do? Just taking an interest in those people. Are y'all getting that?
Mm-hmm.
So mirroring and matches goes a long way. By the way, Derek, I mean, is it possible for one to truly mirror and match without knowing their scripts?
No, I don't think so.
Tell me more, please.
Well, some of you may know, some of you may not know. We practice scripts every day, 5 days a week from 9 to 9:30. And we're going on our 4th year of doing that. And the reality is this, we do it for a multitude of reasons, but short version is this: it's tough for you to focus on the client's needs, wants, desires when you're wondering what you're going to say. Okay. So it's very difficult. And if our goal is to provide the highest level of service, listen to the client, it's very difficult when you don't know what you're going to say, what you're going to do, and what you're thinking. So getting that out of the way is very, very critical. It's what I consider the highest level of customer service, when I can focus on the client and I'm not worried about myself. I mean, the second thing that I've been baffled, I've been in the real estate industry a while, I've been baffled why people don't practice and, try to increase their skills. Long story short is this: we have these desires to make a lot of money, but Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, people that make money, they practice all of the time. Tom Brady practiced 5 days a week for a 48-minute football game on Sunday. So thinking you're going to get better without putting in the time is, definition of insanity.
Well, let's go into that. We're getting off script a little bit, and this is a very valid conversation, so I appreciate it. Is Derek, man? I mean, to say that you and your team practice, every day for 4 years, and I've been in that same boat, and leading my team back when, and practicing, for me it was 2 times a day, five days a week for about 3 years. Right. And then when I became a team leader, I had the opportunity to practice with our team and our larger team in my previous franchise. And yet, how much you got to get over the repetitious boredom of saying the same thing over and over again, right? How do you get over that as a long-term veteran yourself? What would you say would be some best practice in saying, what, like I say, eat the veggies first? Right? Like, how would you get over that? And when talking to our folks here,
I'd say get over it. Okay. Well, what I would just say is this: you either buy into what I'm selling or you don't, and either one's okay. Okay. What I would say is this: if you think you got to get better and improve your skills, then you're going to do it. If you don't think so, that's fine. Just understand that there's an average in everything in life. There's an average IQ, there's an average income, there's an average real estate agent. And if you're fine being an average real estate agent, then I would say you don't need to put in the work. Okay. But if you're not fine being an average real estate agent, you got to understand that you have to work on your skills. And I'll just tell you this. Here's the $1 million thought. Okay. How important is skill level? Okay. And I don't want to get you off track. I jumped on a little bit early, but I'll give you my thoughts on it if you want them.
Yeah. Great.
I have so much time in the day. So if I can be more effective and efficient because of my skill level, I'm going to do it. Like the heart surgeon that makes $85,000 per heart surgery, if he can be a little more efficient and get one more heart surgery in at Cedars-Sinai, it's another 85 grand that day. So what I would say is this: I only have so much time in the day. And the reality is this: if you're going to go out and buy, run your Facebook ads and go out and get sync leads or Zillow leads or whatever, there's always going to be a conversion percentage. So the reality is this: if I can just over the course of my career get a little bit better and convert 2 more listing appointments per week, per month, whatever it is, just because of skill level, it's the best investment I can make, hands down.
I love that.
That goes back to not practicing on your leads, but practicing on each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. So good. And that's what we know that you're in mastery, is that you're actually willing to practice practice internally, so that way you're not practicing on your leads. I mean, that's not a professional way to go about it. We talked about professionalism and self-mastery. So I'm glad that we're in unison. You just walked into that and you touched on something that we talked about, is making sure that we're practicing on our skill, we're practicing on and building our skill set versus doing anything else. So I love that. So getting back into it and getting back into the material. So what we're focusing on now, so as we look at our, where's my slides? All right, so as we look at, our communication, and you look at the different styles and personality style and how we pre-qualify. So take a look at your page 30, all right, page 30 in the workbook. And it's all about how we, basically pre-qualify our sellers. And so high production agents use lead sheets. A lead sheet is a list of questions to ask and information to gather about the seller and the home. So again, this is on your page 30. And if you don't have it, I'm going to drop the link right now into the chat. Give me a second, just in case anybody left and came back or didn't have it. So you got that. You got the Google Drive link there. And so high production agents use lead sheets. So now the reason why these lead sheets are so critical is because it gives us the ability to ask questions so we don't forget, right? So you don't have to think about and remember scripts because it's written down. It's a system, right? Giving you the ability to gather more and more information. And then also it saves you time by ensuring that all the questions are answered. So it actually helps you sound more organized when actually talking to that lead. So it quickly actually gives you the ability to reveal the answers to the question. So is the lead able, ready, and willing in that order to list now? So fundamentally, our connection process, as we talk about going from capture to connect in the lead conversion process, it comes from the standpoint, like Derek mentioned, seeking first to understand, so that way we ask better and better questions. And so here's what we should be asking, right? Who are they? What do they need or want to do, right? What do they want or need to do? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? And how do they plan to make it happen, right? How do they plan to do it? And so you'll see here on the, there's a lead sheet on your page 31. And you see that, and I believe you have, let me show you if you're not in that. And yet on your page 31, you've got access to it. And so here's just a minor example. And so, right, seller's first and last name, right, phone number, appointment date. Do you have a quick 5 minutes? Now, again, this is after you set the appointment. Now you're just going to be pre-qualifying to make sure that you're not missing anything. How did you hear about me, right? Where are you moving to? What's motivating you to move there? How soon do you have to be there? If you sell your home in the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? What would happen if your home, by the way, star that right there, number 6 in this market. What would happen if you did not sell? What would happen if you did not sell? That's such a critical question, because if we're not clear on their motivation and what would happen if they didn't sell, like here, Derek, what do you not want to hear when somebody says, when you ask the question, what would happen if you did not sell? What don't
Nothing. It wouldn't change my life.
Well, so if you're going into an appointment, right, it wouldn't change your life because you're lead generating it regularly anyway.
No. What I'm saying is this: if the prospect, potential seller says, if I say, what would happen if your home were not to sell? They would say, nothing. We'll just stay here.
Oh, right, that right there.
That's
right?
what I mean.
Yeah.
No real motivation.
No motivation.
Yeah, if it doesn't sell, that's fine. We'll stay here.
Yeah.
I mean, and how it, Derek, and transparently, and I know I've been there. You ever get into an agreement or a transaction, and then you find middle of the way, like, oh wait, they don't have to sell? I've been there in the past.
Yeah. So not only that, I've shown up on appointments that I thought were listing appointments, and I have not done a good enough job qualifying them, and it was not a real appointment. Okay. And we trained on that actually this morning. Okay. When the client says, we're just thinking about it. That's what we trained on at 9 o'clock today. We're just thinking about it and how to approach that. But 100%. And I would just say this, people don't necessarily need to sell. Okay. And Mike Ferrieri is a friend of mine, and he would say, hey, you need to sell. Well, I'm a practitioner. I just want to know if they have a high desire to sell, if they're willing to get the highest price the market's willing to bear. And if they're willing to transact and they've got motivation, meaning I need to get 5 bedrooms, I got 3 or whatever it is, the motivation's there. Maybe they don't need to, but they got a high enough desire, I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. Desire, the motivation is going to trump. Because what do you find with the proper motivation, Derek? I mean, do you find that that can trump just about any obstacle in a transaction? Hot water heater went out. You got to pay for a new AC. Whatever it is. Are you finding that because there's a high degree of motivation to get to where they're going next, that they're going to make the decision that they have to do whether they like it or not? They have to because of they got to be in Texas within the next 30 days because they got a job relocation on the line.
So I'll answer that question as from a principal standpoint, and I'll answer that from an agent standpoint for my suggestion to you.
Yeah.
100%. If they're more highly motivated, for the most part, 98% of the time, they're also they're easier and more pleasant to deal with. Unless that 2% of high motivation is, I need to sell my house in 9 days, I got to be in Texas and I got to bring my kids, then it becomes stress. But 98% of the time. The other thing that I would just tell you guys is this, is you have to understand something very clear. Your motivation level and how that comes across is one of the reasons that your principal is hiring you. They're not hiring you to open a lockbox and use your Supra. They're not hiring you to show them there's the kitchen when they can see the refrigerator and the stove. Not hiring you for that, okay? I just sent an email to a real estate agent at Keller Williams Mission Viejo named Zen. We're submitting an offer. I called the guy 10 minutes ago. I sent him an email. We've already completed I'm blowing up the guy's phone. Hire me. Select my buyer. That's why real estate buyers and sellers hire you. Especially buyers right now in this industry, in this market, dude, they want you driving down to Mission Viejo, delivering flowers, whatever it is, to get their offer separated.
Yep.
So,
yeah. By the way,
Go ahead.
Tell Zen, make it happen, right? Because him and I go back. So let's make sure that he gets one he puts one in for the team, right? KW, right? Why not? I'm
going to ask you to call him after we get.
I know. I think that's what was going to happen after this.
100%.
Set myself up for that one.
Yes, you did.
And so in regards to that, think about the intensity at which you can work for your client. And are we seeing that as a value proposition? Are we utilizing that as a value proposition? And so as we continue to have this dialogue and really focus in, understanding where our people are coming from, we've got to slow down to stay in curiosity, slow down to understand why they're moving. And when we know that, then we can better help them make decisions. Because like mentioning of what Derek mentioned, like for instance, if anything goes awry, we can remind our people why they were moving in the first place. And once we're able to remind them, then obviously putting things back into perspective. So by the way, closing. I want to touch base on this. And we're not going to spend time on the closing aspect and focusing on closing contacts or closing for appointments. And yet scripts. If you haven't heard anything today, is you want to be in our script sessions Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. We're doing them 8:30 to 9 o'clock with Kier. Be in that room, learn how to handle objections, learn how to respond to objections, etc. There's on page 34, you see that there's a whole great list of types of closes. What I would tell you is that depending on your client's behavioral style, a particular close can be more effective than not, right? So if you are working with a higher D or a higher driver or assertive type, you may not go with a hard close and say, let's meet. And depends on how much rapport you have. They may respect it, they may not. You want to be dependent on who sees themselves as in the driver's circle, in the driver's seat, and then approach accordingly. So point is, know your scripts, know your behavioral styles, and be in mastery around that. So that way you can better convert more appointments by talking to less people and even going on less appointments to hit the contracts goal that you intend to hit anyway. That's what scripts practice allows us to do. So just a quick reminder on that. So check that out on page 34, all the different type of closes. I'll share with you real quick one of my favorite closes. So I have the alternative choice close, one of my favorite ones. One of the ways that we can do that is I would say, hey, Derek, when are you available? I got some time here during the week or the weekend. What's best for you? Right. That's one of my favorite close. The take back close as well. Look, I don't know if I can help you. I'd be happy to find out. And yet, you know what? Maybe I'm not the best agent. And yet maybe we can have a conversation. I don't know. What do you think? Right. That type of just takeaway. Right. Look, maybe I'm not the one for you. I'd be happy to find out. I'm not sure if you are. Derek, what are one of your favorite closes?
Well, I think that those are, it's funny. I'm going to tell you something is we don't teach closes after 4 years. Okay.
Tell me.
So what I would say is this, I think salespeople, their biggest, but this goes back to double down on scripts and just learning your business. Not even scripts, just learning your business. We don't have I've never said this week we're going to teach on closes. Why? Because I know that all of the agents, my partners would freeze up because their definition of close is get somebody to do something they don't want to do. I'm like twisting their arm. That's the perception when people say, oh, I'm going to close them. Okay. My approach has always been this, going back to Mike Ferry saying, and Tom Ferry says the same thing. I'm going to ask them so many questions that the outcome is obvious. That's all it is. So how I close is just asking them questions and then saying, number one, are they ready, willing, and able? Can they transact? Okay. Number two is this, if they have a desire to, and sometimes they don't have a desire to, and I'm okay. I'm qualifying them. So that is closing wrapped up. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
Another approach is leading them through the process. So you're going through and they don't know what to do next. They don't usually, inexperienced home sellers, they don't really know what to do next. And they say, I'll think about it or whatever. And then you come back and say, well, our next steps would be, let's review the comps, let's do, whatever the next steps are for them to take the step forward to sign the paperwork.
Okay. Let me just, Brian, can I just add one more thing going back to the motivation part?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. Obviously, there's buyer fatigue over the last year. Okay. The last 13 months since the market heated up. Okay. Buyer fatigue. They're writing 10 offers. They're getting blown out. They're writing above list price and they're not getting it. And there's buyer fatigue. Okay. It's from Chino Hills to Schenectady, New York. It's everywhere in the United States. Okay. When I say the motivation and I say calling that agent, driving to their real estate office, supplying everything, a complete offer. I mean, literally driving down to the real estate office in Orange to meet with John Katnick just to get an offer accepted, and it didn't get accepted. Okay. But what I'm saying is this, if you have buyers that switch agents because they're getting their offers accepted, not accepted. If you have buyers that say, well, we're going to hold off for a while, and 3 months later they bought a house, what they're saying to you is this, we don't know if it was you or the market. So what I'm saying is this, I get blown out representing buyers every day, just like you. Okay. I am unsuccessful every day, just like you. And I have a high level of skill and I still get blown out and I lose. But what I don't lose is the client, meaning this, my clients never doubt it's from lack of effort. And that's the key. And if they know that you're giving it 100%, hey, Derek can't do anything but drive down to Orange and meet with Katnick Brothers and present my offer in person and, get John Katnick you can't do anything more than that. They're going to stick with you and they're going to stick with the process.
And they know, or if they knew that the amount of calls that you're making to off-market people, right? Off-market potential sellers, if you were to show them, hey, here's what I'm doing to find deals off-market, why not? I mean, you're showing your value. To your point, Derek, I'm hearing value the whole way. As long as clients see that you're bringing value, I mean, What else are they looking for?
For that one client, I'll just give you this. When I say off market, you guys say, oh, that's complicated. I ran every expired, canceled, withdrawn listing in Tustin, North Tustin, and Villa Park.
Yep.
From $1 million to 1.5 in the last 2 years. And then I cross-references by the ones that have sold, checked tax records. I came up with 4 and I emailed it to them. I said, I looked at 134 properties. There are 4 that have not transacted. And they, you did all that research? Yep. I emailed it to them. And they said, are you going to contact the seller? I said, nope. I'm going to contact the listing agent if you want to see the house, the old listing agent. Oh, you want to double end it? I just want to get you a house.
There you go. Right, you have those options. So are we exhausting our options here for our clients and going all out? Again, I mean, Derek, at what, 2.5%, 3%? That's what, $30,000 to $40,000 worth of effort right there. Now are we putting in that effort to generate that type of income? So, let's talk a little bit about objection handling. There's a great model for objection handling. You've got that on your page. Where did I end up? On your page, and we'll talk about that. We've talked about scripts a lot, and so I want to touch base on that, and then we'll move on. Objection handling. So there's a great acronym out there, and Derek, you may remember this. RHAC, right? You can call it, RAC or whatever you want to call it. RHAC. So first you repeat, right? So you repeat. RAHC. You repeat, you accept. So for instance, if Derek would throw an objection, whatever it was, I would say, oh, well, will you cut your commission? Oh, hey, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I appreciate you bringing that to light. So for what I'm hearing you say is you want me to cut my objection, all right? And so I repeat it. And by the way, why would it be important for me to repeat the objection? What does that do for me?
Gives you time to think.
Exactly, right? Give you time to think and process, okay, where are you going with it? So repeat, and then you accept. The reason why it's important to accept, why would you say it'd be important for us to accept the objection for what it is? Anybody?
Not confrontational.
Yeah, don't want to create conflict. Say, hey, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. And now I would add one more in there. It's isolation. Isolate the objection. So it'd be RAIHC, right? Isolate the objection, meaning, hey, other than cutting commission, is there any other reason why we couldn't do business today? And if they say no, or if they say, well, it'd probably be time frame. How soon would we have to go through things? Great. Anything else? So just giving them the opportunity to just let it out, so that way you can address all the objections at once. And then you handle the objections. No, I don't cut my commission. Actually, we have a variable, and I trust everybody has that kind of, and we can talk about that at a later time, a variable commission structure that you can offer different services. And actually, I know agents who are charging as high as 10%. 10% for more work offered on their property, 6% for staging. Right. So what are you willing to do to increase value versus decrease your value? So handle the objection and then go for the close again. Now, in the event that the close didn't work and they bring up another objection for whatever reason, start from the top and go again. Repeat, accept, isolate, handle, and then close. And then spin cycle over and over again. Any thoughts on that? Questions? Pretty straightforward?
Straightforward.
Awesome. All right. So obviously we talked about tracking your numbers, tracking your production, tracking. Don't forget to track your numbers. That's one of the biggest things. So we know how we're doing. We know if we're effective at our scripts or not. We know how, we know if we're effective at our presentations or not. So we're going to get into the pre-listing conversation. So getting into pre-listing, the pre-listing package and what that looks like. And then we're going to get into the overall listing appointment dialogue. And so as we look at it, let me share my screen here a quick second. So as we look at it here, knowing this is where we are in the pre-listing phase of the conversation, most agents don't use a pre-listing package. We understand that. And the pre-listing package is actually meant for a few different things. So it gives us an opportunity to basically pre-sell our services, right? So pre-listing materials, right? It gives us the ability to design and build our the seller's confidence in us ahead of time before us getting into the appointment. So giving them the opportunity to create some questions and even handle objections in advance prior to our appointment. It also saves us some time, right? Whether it be we put out what we do for marketing up front, or we put out what a great company Keller Williams is, putting out our real estate quote unquote resume, what we do to sell property, etc. Put that ahead of time, and then come in after that and making sure that they reviewed it, and then addressing our conversations from there. Gene Rivers says, and I know Derek, you know Gene Rivers, and some of our other folks do. If you have a powerful pre-listing package, it's the main job is to cover the dirty work. All the things that people might object to and all the things that people might need to know about is handled in the pre-listing package, okay? So what's in the pre-listing package? What could we use? So you've got options. So what we actually teach in Bold is, number one, do you have a real estate resume? So something that says who you are. So if you've got past experiences in other careers, are you highlighting that? What's the good and the strengths out of your past experiences that would put you in the best light to take seller listings and show that seller that you can bring it for them, right? That's one example. The next package or a part of the package is, oh, by the way, so for instance, if you were a teacher, it would be an example, you know, hey, my goal is to educate my sellers on the process of selling successfully, whatever. If you're a marketing person before, obviously, hey, I market properties at a high level. If you did something that highlighted negotiations prior to real estate, throw that in your real estate resume, if you will. So that's going to be something that you put in there. Obviously, put in something about your stats, your metrics. Mary Jo, I was going to come to you in a moment, and yet we know that Keller Williams has a bunch of resources that you all could use to inform your stats, right? The language of real estate. Using those stats as a market center, using those stats as a company overall on how much property we sell. If you don't have those resources or you don't know where to get them, reach out to Amy, right? She'll work with you, and Mary Jo will work with you to be able to get you those stats and those metrics to put you in the best position to win. There's nothing better than, and we talked about getting to the seller first and then being able to reaffirm in their mind that they're meeting with the right person because of your stats, your credentials, and leveraging that. All right, so I trust that makes sense. Any questions around that? Mary Jo, to go into your point, you know, go into the language of real estate. I mean, why would that be a good resource for our agents to utilize in their businesses?
Well, definitely to highlight their own production, but if you don't have the production, then you can use the power of the market center as a whole, and that's your team. You use your market center stats as your team. We have these numbers, we do this, we have this production level. Absolutely. So it's important to know that as a market center as well as your own numbers, and to be able to communicate those to the sellers, because that's what's going to impress them. That's what they're looking for.
Derek, you bringing something out here?
No, I was just looking at some notes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just going to share a little bit on that. So, you know, what are your thoughts on that preparation going into your listing appointment, going to a listing appointment? Like, what is important to you as you prepare? You know, using the pre-listing packages, like what is your mindset going in, and are you leveraging anything that's going to put you in the best position to win?
So, you know, if we have time to go back to, you know, to show that slide with the question sheet, your pre-qualification sheet.
Yeah.
Time to go back to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you my 2-minute answer. I used a pre-listing packet for the first 5 years of my career. The last 20 I haven't. And we just got done building a new one last week. My thoughts are this, is it needs to be digital. So ours is a digital one. We're gonna have a digital one and a hard copy one for my partners. It needs to be professional. It can't look cheesy, okay? It needs to tell the client only what you do and not what you don't do and say you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Like Gene said, the reality is this: my old pre-listing packet was it was in your face. Okay. Our new one is you know, a lot less down, but the old one that I used, they would look at it and throw it away. And I would ask them on the phone my qualifying questions. Have you had a chance? This is key, guys. If you're going to use this, have you had a chance to review the information that I sent you? They got it. They looked at it for 2 minutes. They threw it in the trash and they would say, yes. Great. Just so you know, our time together is going to take between 15 and 30 minutes. If I sent them that and they said that they looked at it and they really didn't, then they shouldn't have any questions what I'm going to do to market a home. Okay. What I would just say, if I was talking to all 1.1 million real estate agents in the state of California, what's the most important thing you can do? 2 things. Number 1, write down your value proposition. Okay, what you bring to the table. Number 2, you need to write down what you do to market a home. And if you don't know, spend all of your time on it. Okay? And I will tell you this. If a seller asked me today what I do to market their home, I say I put it in the multiple listing service. Well, what else? That's it. That's all it's going to take. You're not paying me to market your home in the hottest real estate market. You're paying me to negotiate the highest price for you and vet potential buyers to make sure that we've got the most qualified and motivated buyer. That's actually why you're paying me a brokerage fee in this market. Tell them the truth.
Definitely.
That's a good point. It means you know your market and you know what your value is in each of the markets.
Gotta know it.
Like the truth.
Gotta know it. And speaking of value proposition, and some of us say, well, shoot, what could be my value prop? Know it, be very clear. What stands you apart? Now you're like, okay, well, where do I find one? Here's my my screen here of what a value proposition consists of. And oh, look at that. You know, it's actually in the MREA, but page 95 of the MREA. If you were building this a presentation out today for your seller listing presentation, literally we should copy this just about word for word and then add on what difference maker, right? What is it that you do differently? By the way, what should be in here that's maybe not? Maybe it's you add in here under property preparation, number 3, under C, COVID measures complementary. Is that in your presentation? If not, add it in there. What else could you add in this conversation around the top 10? Again, this is top 10 seller value areas, value proposition areas. And then these are the top 10 for buyers. And so when people say, what do you get for charging me 6%? Well, here's the thing: needs analysis, pricing strategy, property prep, marketing, receiving an offer, negotiations to sell, selling the property, right? Prepare post-contract work, vendors, pre-close preparation, closing, post-closing. It's the most finely tuned value proposition for a seller and a buyer today. And I would ask you to add your own 2 cents in there. What are you?
And then what is this telling the seller as well? That there's so much more to selling your house than getting offers and the price.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
It's telling the seller, wow, there's a lot you have to think about here. And this agent outlining every number, every letter knows its way, knows their way through it and can guide me through it. Hopefully that's what it's going to spell out.
By the way, page 95 of the MREA.
Right. I think that point is key too, to be transparent in regards to the negotiation aspect, because we know that a lot of FSBOs have left a lot of money on the table, especially in this market, thinking they know more than us, and or they can sell quickly just based on inventory. However, they're not still receiving top dollar.
So true. So what thoughts might you have? What questions do you have around this dialogue? Let's keep the conversation going. What's standing out to us here? thoughts, questions? There's a very big brain trust on the line right now between all of our experiences, all of our understanding. You've got a maps coach online, you got a #1 agent in the Valley on the line, you got another top producer and Sarah Dykema on the line, you've got Mary Jo on the line here. You got a whole bunch of great agents from the different perspectives. What are we hearing around this dialogue on how we approach seller listings?
Brian, can you bring up the qualifying sheet again?
Yeah, definitely.
If nobody's going to talk, if anybody wants to add 2 cents, if not, I'm going to try to get some value in the remaining minutes. I'll tell you what we taught on today. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll also just tell you, going back to that lead sheet, seller qualification sheet.
Yep.
I'm going to let you know this. That's your listing presentation right there. That's your listing presentation. Okay. You go in, you walk through the home, you sit, you go through. By the way, thanks for your time. Just so you know, our time together is going to take 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to answer all the questions that you may have, or even the ones that you don't know that you should know. You tell the seller, that's what I'm going to do. You may not even know, but I'm going to tell you everything. Okay. Before we get started, to put me in the best position to help you reach your goals, I'm going to go over the questions that I had asked you over the phone. Maybe I was only speaking with the wife. Maybe I was speaking with the husband, whatever. Okay. I would say this. I'm going to go through, some of these are on mine. When I get your home sold, that's the assumptive close. Where are you planning on moving to? Or you said you were moving to Eastville. Is that correct? Yep, that's correct. What's motivating you to move there? We can get more for our buck there versus Chino Hills. How soon do you need to be there? We're not in a rush, but we'd like to be there by the end of summer. Okay. Here's a good point. Okay. Do you have any idea of the value of your home, or have you had it professionally appraised? Write down professionally appraised. Okay. Because they could say, I want to list it for $1 million, or my neighbor said this, or I saw this on Zillow. Have you had it professionally appraised?
Derek, can I just interrupt one?
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to your answer where they wanted to go to Eastville, not in a rush, but by the end of summer. Wondering if anybody heard that, and is that another question leading to their real motivation, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because now you want to probe into what's happening at the end of summer.
I'm assuming schools, but great question. Okay. How much do you owe on the property? You're going to get this. What do you need to know? Why do you need to know? If you have thousands of qualifying questions, they're going to say, what do you need to know? This goes back to scripts. So I can figure out the exact equity that you would have at different price points. And if you just respond back like that, great, they're good. Okay. You have any questions before we meet? What I say is this. Okay. And I've lost 2 listings in the last 7 months because I didn't ask this question, and it came back to bite me. If what I say makes sense, this is exact verbiage. What I say makes sense. You feel confident I can get the home sold, comfortable working with me. Are you ready to move forward and start the process? No other words. I haven't done that twice, and I lost the listings.
Can you say that again? Write that down, everybody, one more time.
When I see you Monday at 5, if what I say makes sense, okay? We're in alignment. What I say makes sense. You feel confident I can get the job done. If you don't think I can't do it, I'm not asking you to commit to me. Comfortable working with me. There's a personality match, etc. Are you ready to get started? Are you ready to start the process when I see you Monday? I'm not saying, are you ready to sign a listing agreement? I'm saying, are you ready to start the process? It's very soft. Okay? We make money by making other people feel comfortable. Does that make sense?
Solving problems.
Yeah.
Solving problems. Well said, Derek, and I think that's such a critical point as we look at really just narrowing it down of what we need to be doing to preparing ourselves. It's getting our head on straight as well. And so here's some 5 strategies that we can use to a great listing consultation. Obviously, know your scripture materials, know your market, obviously. Like Derek mentioned, communication techniques that build rapport, understand them. And by the way, the more you go into appointments, the more appointments you go through, I know that y'all feel that you'll get better. Is that right, Derek? I mean, you look at yourself this year compared to, years ago. I mean, you've only gotten better, correct?
This year, I'll make the biggest jump. Yes, I have.
Yeah, and then yet I noticed what he mentioned about that. He remembers the 2 that he didn't get over the last 7 months, right? Particularly around that area of opportunity. By the way, Derek, what was the volume on those 2? Out of curiosity.
I left $35,000 on the table because I didn't ask that question.
35 on the table by missing a question, right? So we say pros practice until they can't get it right wrong, or they can't get that wrong, correct? Pros practice until you can't get it wrong. And that's what we're going to continue to do. All right. And so build that, be a consultant, not just an agent. If you just want to be a differentiator right there, be a consultant. Now, for number 1, we have to have a distinguished mindset around what's the difference between a consultant and an agent. Right? How might a consultant show up versus an agent? Is there any inkling in your mind that a consultant is a turn and burn type of individual? No way. Right? Consultants actually are there for the long haul. Would y'all agree with that?
Yes.
By all means. And then finally, as we look into the consultation, we talked about the steps here. Here's the first 5. So confirm the appointment, right? Obviously, you get in there, adopt the yes mindset. Keep an open mind as you're getting into the opportunity to list a property. You enter in and tour. So in that conversation, when you're entering and touring a property, it's typically, let me go through the property as through the eyes of a buyer. You're going to go through and you're going to take a look at it. Derek, you ever have a seller, if you didn't take control of the initial tour, that they were going to show you all of why the property is worth $100,000 more than it actually is.
Yep.
And plus waste time doing so. Literally, I had a rocket scientist that I listed at once, and he literally took me through every part of the project. Hey, look at the window seals. Look how clean that is. You go through a lot of other homes, you know how dirty those typically are. Look at how clean that window seal is. Like, so if we don't take control of that part of the process, we can waste a lot of time. Right? So enter in and tour, begin the conversation like Derek mentioned, go into the motivation, dig deep, right? Like what we mentioned over the phone when I was coming in here, right? You touch back on the motivation points, clear that, right? And uncover and prioritize their needs, and then get into the rest of the appointment, right? Check for commitment, handle any objections that may come out, set expectations, negotiate to resolve issues, and then close. Now in here, you're like, okay, well, where does the CMA and the pricing conversation come in? Well, my rule of thumb is you don't talk marketing until you can agree on price, because there's no type of marketing, and Derek, you kind of alluded to it before, there's no marketing that's going to get an unrealistic seller a price higher than what the market is bearing. So until you agree upon price, then you touch on marketing.
100%.
So any best practices, Derek, for pricing and getting price agreement for sellers?
Best practices would be the following. Okay. Number 1, get an idea of what they're thinking in advance. Okay.
What does that look like to you?
Okay. Number 2, ask them in advance when you're on the phone. I teach my partners this. What upgrades have you done to the home? Okay. I want to know that in advance. So when I present my price, I say, by the way, before I present, by the way, I've taken into consideration your granite countertops, your whatever it is, whatever they've done. So I'm taking that off the table. Okay. Number 3, I give them suggestions as far as a range, and I give them options. People want options. Options are power.
Yeah.
Okay? I let it be their decision. And if they're picking the high point, I say, if we are not getting the traction needed, are you willing to adjust the price down to what the market is going to bear? Yes. I'd like to put that in the listing agreement so we don't have a stale listing. Are you okay with that? Sure. Okay.
So, let's go ahead and pause there, right? So there's a lot of great nuggets there. Number one is your approach to getting their thought process on price ahead of time, right? Going into the appointment. What does that look like for you? And we could very easily add that to just one more question on the pre-qual form. It's not on this one, and yet that's a very important question to add in. What does that look like for you when having that dialogue with sellers ahead of time?
Well, it's I don't have the screen up, but it doesn't matter. See, do you have any idea what the value of your home is, or have you had it professionally appraised? And I make sure to use the word professionally appraised, because Zillow's not a professional appraiser. Their neighbor leaning over the fence saying Bob sell it for 800 grand is not a professional appraisal, etc. Okay. And then at the appointment, I say, the reason I asked you, Bob, why have you had it professionally appraised? Unless the buyer's buying all cash, and they're not buying all cash, they're going to require a loan. It's going to require an appraiser. It's going to have to be professionally appraised. That's what I tell them. Okay. The number one thing that I would tell you on pricing is this. Here's those that know me, here's my secret sauce. I over prepare.
Tell us more.
I see my partner Ron on this call, and Ron would say, Eric shows up 9 o'clock meeting with notes Monday through Friday. Cynthia would say that he shows up with notes. He shows up over prepared. Okay. It makes me look brilliant. I'm a C student. I'm saying over prepare, know everything about the tax rate, know everything about the square footage, know what things have sold in their track without looking at a piece of paper. Bob Mary, your house is 1817 square feet, built in 1995. MJ Brock, 6,500 square foot lot, 3 comparable sales. My buddy Carl up there at Compass has the one on Avenida Del Monte. It's been on the market 9 days. It's got a view. Well, I mean, boom. Then here's what I'll tell you. Are they really going to object to your pricing strategy when you've done that without fumbling through papers? No. Why? And it also sends this message. I took the time because I care.
Yes.
I care enough to prepare enough. That's it.
I like that. Write that down. I care enough to prepare enough. How about that? That's a really good one. That's a great one. Thank you for that one. And so as we go through the process, okay, so we've talked about the walkthrough, we've talked about motivation in depth, talked about scripts and objection handling. Derek, how are you handling the challenge right now where people say, well, I don't know where I'd go if I would move to next? What's that dialogue like for you? I know how, we'd handle it, right? Being that sellers have, more equity to compete in this marketplace. What are your thoughts?
So Ron, you want to handle it?
Oh, I wouldn't mind. So we actually were role playing this morning, and I fumbled on it, and I overthought it. But Derek, feel free. Let's see if we can go.
Well, here's what I would. Do you want me to role play, Ron?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So Derek, where would you be going if you found the perfect home?
I'm not necessarily sure.
Okay. If we were to sell the property at the right price in a perfect world, obviously you're thinking about selling, where would you go?
I'd probably go to Eastville, but we're not sure yet.
Okay, fantastic, D. And what takes you to Eastville?
We need more bedrooms, bigger square footage, and we're getting priced out at Chino Hills.
Okay, perfect. So your 3 bedroom, 2 bath isn't cutting it for the family, correct?
Nope.
Okay. So tell me, Derek, regarding this transition, what's holding you back?
Nothing. I mean, we're just, we're kind of just thinking about it, but if we can get the price and if we can make sure there's something we can afford in Eastville, nothing's holding me back.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like you're a contingent sale, correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Do you know what a contingent sale is?
I do.
Okay. well, that's where I would sort of just continue to go. I think Brian's question was more regarding to what Isabel said this morning.
So the objection, like, where am I gonna go?
I don't know
because
where to go.
I don't know where to go. I can't find anything that would make sense for me. Or, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people getting outbid on their properties.
Well, that's happening. So you tell them that's happening. And just say this. On the flip side of that, escrows are still closing. There's a home, people are still getting into homes. It's more difficult. Yes, you're competing against 15 people. Just tell them the truth. And I say, look, if you have a need, desire, and a want to get that other bedroom or whatever, great. I would say this, you do need to know where you're going to though. And there's times, Brian, when you said the takeaway close, look, let's get that figured out. Let's get you pre-qualified, figure out the equity in your home, figure out what you can qualify for. And before I even roll out there, let's do some searching online to make sure that there's a product that's replaceable. I will do that all the time. I don't want to waste my time, and I'm serving their needs. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And around that too, and the common conversation too that we're hearing is, I want to go back to some things that you've said and some things that I know as works is, come on, when you have a seller that's ready to sell, they've got equity in their property, they're a strong buyer. Now, most people we know that they don't sell. Most people sell every 10 years. So somebody who sold 10 years ago, Derek, do they have some equity in the property?
Yes.
Probably
yes.
A crap ton of equity. So when you're looking at that, that means that, would you say that they're a competitive buyer in today's market?
Yes.
Even with a contingent sale, could you create certain type of negotiations with the buyers that are buying their home that would allow them freedom and time to be able to go out there and find their next home?
It's easier to get a contingency or a maximum 60-day rent back. That's the max rent back you can do, by the way.
Yep.
30 days is the guidelines. You can get a 30-day extension. So you should know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Max 60-day rent back, Fannie Freddie guidelines.
Yep. And you should know the forms associated with that and how to structure that. Absolutely. So Derek, you're saying on that.
It's easier to get a contingency or rent back from the buyer coming in, but I'll just say this, it's very hard to get a contingency offer accepted.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to what you said around your, how many homes you scoured, right, to find before you came up with 4 that are most likely to sell, right? Or because of, they were expired or canceled some time ago, some years ago. By the way, if you're not using Remine, REMINE is in Edward.com, we're missing out on the boat. I continue to go back to that. It's a phenomenal resource that you can use to find people who are most likely to sell by high, medium, and low. So I highly recommend that. Remine, and it's free. The basic the basic version is free to PWR, and I believe most CRMLS is free. All right, so CRMLS, that basic version is free, and you can use that and go out and find those off-market opportunities for your clients. If you had a seller that's ready to sell, are you going to stop at nothing to find them a replacement property? Are you open, ready, and able to go out there and do that for them? I think that's the key of what Derek's saying. Are you putting that energy? Are you willing to go out there and do what it takes? You've got, call it at a $500,000 average price one, call it 12.5 on one end. You have an opportunity to get another 12.5 on the other. Maybe they're moving it to equivalent or higher. You got about 25 to 30 grand on the line. Are you going to figure it out? Find a way to make that work. By the way, we're professional problem solvers. We get paid in the direct proportion at the problems that we solve.
Brian, check one thing.
Please do.
I saw my partner Cynthia posted something, and I'm going to give you 2 answers. Okay. So Cynthia wrote in the chat box, some sellers don't want to sell because of the challenge to buy their next home. How can we handle that objection? Okay.
Yep.
2 ways. Number 1, agree with them. It's going to be hard. Okay. Tell them the truth. Okay. It's going to be very difficult. Okay. However, you do have another option. Would you like to know what that is, Cynthia? Yes, I would, Derek. That's what she's going to say. We can wait for the market to go to the exact opposite extreme. What does that mean? Well, I was in the business where it would take 7 months to sell a home and maybe 2 people would look at it over 7 months. I was literally there. Buying a house was really easy because the seller would accept any offer you threw at them. They'd accept it. It took you 7 months and you usually have to come down, 16% on the price. So my question, Cynthia, would you like to get multiple offers and sell your home above list price and have to go out and find a home? Or would you like to wait until the market corrects the exact opposite and have it take 7 months to sell your home and choose any home would you like? Which is better for you?
Right?
Can we get the horn for that one?
What I'm saying is
got
this,
you.
I'm taking Cynthia's vision off of it's hard to find a home. Yes, it is. But guess what? As a seller, you're getting multiple offers above and you're sitting back there. It's going to be difficult, but hey, we can wait for the other market. No, Derek, we'd rather do it in this market. Okay.
I love these. I love this stuff. Now, I mean, so, and that is, and by the way, and I was going to add in is reciprocating confidence. They're going to look at us for confidence that they can get it done in this market. If we don't believe we can get it done in this market, they're not going to believe that we can get it done in this market. So transfusing confidence that, you know what, if it's anything on me, I may not be able to make it. I may fail, and yet we're going to do everything that we can to find you a home in this market. And by the way, because it's contingent, if I'm unsuccessful, that means you don't have a home, you're not homeless. Are there buyers out there that would be happy to take a property off market contingent upon the seller finding a replacement? So that way they don't have to look. Are there buyers that will do that right now? Anybody? Do you have some of your own buyers that would take a contingent sale happily just so that way they don't have to shop anymore?
100%.
So with that, I mean, there's another approach that might work as well. So here's where we are. We were pretty much wrapping up that side of the conversation. So we've talked about lead conversion. We've talked about capturing. We've talked about the pre-listing, and we're at the listing appointment phase. So as we wrap this up, put a nice little bow on it, Derek, what would you say that maybe we haven't discussed or talked about yet that would help narrow the gap between the amount of listings our people want to get and the amount of listings that they go out there and achieve, right? That from where they are to the way they intend to be. What would you say that we haven't covered yet around the seller and or listing presentation that is pivotal for them to know?
I would just go back to this. It's what we train on today. You're going to have people, hey, my coworker's thinking about selling. You call up the coworker. Hey, Sally, it's Derek with Keller Williams. How are you? Great. Hey, I was referred to you by Bob, your coworker there. He said you're thinking about selling. And Sally says, we're just thinking about it. We're just starting down the road. So what we wrote down today, by the way, you guys should write this down. You guys should write this down. Oh, by the way, you guys do know I take notes on this stuff, right? Okay, you should write this down. Fantastic. It sounds like you're in the investigation stage. Yeah, we are. What that does is that makes the client feel comfortable. You're not running over there with a pen in your mouth, sign a listing agreement. You're in the investigation stage. Oh, by the way, one other side note, the number one benefit of working hard and trying to be successful and trying to do a lot of business is you can tell people the truth. That's the number one benefit. Why do you want to sell a lot of homes? So if they're a jerk, I cut them. Or if I can't get their sales price, I tell them. I have leverage if I'm not waiting for the next dollar. Okay. But I would say this, if somebody's thinking about it and they're not ready to sign a listing agreement, you say, great. You ask them this qualifying questions and say this, Bob, let me tell you what, I'd like the opportunity to stop by your home, to give you a professional opinion of value and some things that can maximize your equity. Okay. I'd like the opportunity to stop by your home Saturday at 10 to give you a professional opinion of value is to maximize your. And also at that same time, I'm gonna walk you through the process to get you from Chino to Eastville, whatever it is. So when you're ready, at least you'll have the information at your fingertips. I'm also saying, Brian, hey, they may not be ready right now. I'm in agreement. But guess what? There's times that I've said that I show up, hey, we're ready to go. Okay. What I am saying is this: don't set an appointment without telling the client why you're coming over. Okay. I'm going to go over the value, give you some ideas on what you could do, maybe staging, improving. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the process, what a contingency is, you know, what show, great. And if you're ready, great. If not, I'm going to be first in line and we met.
By the way, we were just talking about a stat earlier today before you jumped on about it. It was like 77% of sellers choose from the first two agents that they meet with.
100%.
That's it.
70%. That's why I say, even if it's a preview appointment or you're going out there, look face to face so they know your face, not just your voice.
Get there first and follow up.
Okay. Anybody want to take Ernesto Perez's great question? What would you say to a buyer who wants to wait for the market to go down to buy? It's a great question, Ernesto. Anybody want to take that?
I'll take it.
Love it.
Yeah. I usually just say the interest rate. I said, you can wait, but the interest rates might not be as low as they are right now. Right now we have historical low rates. If you wait, they may be way higher.
Okay.
Ron,
who said that?
James.
Hey, James. So write this down. You
Okay.
know this. Write this number down. 1% equals 11%. Okay. So what I'm saying is this: 1% equals 11%. If interest rates go up 1% from 3.5 to 4.5%, because you got to give them stats, you got to give them hard numbers.
Okay.
If interest rates, James, go up from 3.5 to 4%, your purchasing power goes down 11%. Can I tell you what that means? Derek, what does that mean? That means you're buying, instead of buying the $1 million house, you're buying the house for $890, and you have the same mortgage payment.
Yep.
Okay.
That $100,000 less. How many bedrooms are you sacrificing by waiting?
Yep. And the other thing, Ernesto, that I would say is this, and this is the truth. If my wife and 2 daughters and my daughter, if we were looking for a house, I would care less where the market is. Okay. Because I look at real estate as a long-term deal. And I also know that I'm only trading equity. If I have to buy high, I get to sell high. If I get to buy low, I got to sell low. So I never look at real estate from a timing standpoint if it's my principal residence. I look at it like it's going to go up and down for the next 20 years anyways. I want to just say, hey, you know what? I want something that I'm happy with. And one other thing, Ernesto, I say this. Do you know why they have cemeteries? I've said this to buyers. Why do they have cemeteries? Because people die. Life is short. Why wait 2 more years or 3 more years for $10,000 when you could be living where you want today?
Ooh. And you just let that sit.
Boom.
Let that sit. For me, I would also go back and turn the question around saying, and to your point and the end point, Derek, why were you looking to buy in the first place? Why were you looking to buy in the first place?
100%.
What was your motivation? Stop paying rent, get a home for yourself, be able to color your front door, whatever you want, right? Get a backyard, whatever it is. Why were you looking to buy? And then dig deep on motivation from there. So, Mary Jo, were you going to jump in and say something? Because I'm going to open it up here for as we wrap up part 1 of our Wynwood Sellers dialogue. Has this been beneficial? Has this been helpful, folks? I'm gonna start unmuting people.
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Yes, it's been wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you very much for that. Respond that question to Derek. You know, it's really good information. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Hey, before I log off, can I just tell you one thing? What happened with that cemetery quote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, give us some closure, please.
So here's just what I want you to get. Okay. That happened to be a guy that was a client that became a friend of mine. And when I told him, I go, do you know why they build cemeteries? Because life's short and don't wait 3 more years for 10. And he looked at me and he said, where did you learn that? And I want to leave you guys with this. I said, I learned that from knocking doors and making hundreds of thousands of phone calls and getting rejected and writing down notes and teaching myself to become a salesperson through the rejection. But the only way you're going to ever have any shot at mastery is just by going through it thousands and thousands, in my case, tens of thousands of times, and getting rejected and getting blown out and improving and figuring out where you could do better, how you can ask better questions. And then you know what? What starts happening through grit and God and whatever happens in time and in those 10,000 hours, like mouth, things start coming out of your mouth just because you've been rejected and you've had so many sales conversations. Mm-hmm. The only way to get there is by going through thousands of conversations, and don't worry about it. You'll become great on the end. Thanks for having me.
I'm hearing self-mastery. I'm hearing sticking to the craft, respecting the craft, and really carving out a niche for yourself, whether it be the door knocking, the phone calls, farming, social media, you name it. There's a different way for us all to get what it is that we're looking for in this business. There's so much to go around, and it's about what's happening between our ears and mastering that first. I want to hear a few ahas, and then we'll wrap up today. Agents helping other agents. Ahas, share your perspective, help others connect the dots about what you're learning and what we've all heard together. So what were some of your key takeaways? Ahas, agents helping other agents. Who's going? William, did you unmute yourself?
Well, yes, actually, thank you, Derek. Yeah, I think Derek told me to tell the truth. Yeah, this is very important to me, and also the hard numbers. 1% interest rate means 11% of housing price change.
That was good. That's a great perspective.
Thank you,
great aha.
thank you, Derek.
Thank you for that one. Absolutely. What else?
I think the preparation, just for everything, preparation with, taking notes or putting in the work with the phone calls, but just being prepared and taking that time to write it down or however you need to prepare for that, whatever you need to do.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for that. Great point. What else?
It's always a good time to sell and buy.
No matter what market you're in, especially if it's your principal residence, who cares what you bought for? You'll be there for 15, 20 plus years anyway. Thank you for that. Great point. What else?
I care enough to prepare enough.
That was a doozy. That was a good one. 100%. Couple more. We'll wrap it up.
I think at least something that I took away as someone who's not an agent, how much
somebody who's not an agent yet.
Yes. Everything Derek said, especially about how prepared he is, reminds me of the old adage of luck. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yep.
So being prepared for everything at any given moment is where opportunity becomes luck.
Love that. Right. Mastery of our craft. Right. Are we preparing ourselves, studying our craft as much as possible to be having an opportunity to be lucky? Great point, Ryan. All right. Last one. Who's taking us home? Last aha, and then we'll get to part 2 in the coming weeks.
Brian, I hope, I was going to say, you got,
yeah,
Brian,
I'm listening.
You got to send some big thank yous to Derek for sharing that with us, and you as well, and everybody, Mary Jo and everybody contributing. It was really good stuff. It was like a 7-course meal today.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Bon appetit.
We gotta have the dessert. I was gonna tell you, there's different kind of ahas though, Brian. Did you know that?
There's a bunch, right?
No, well, there's different styles of aha. There's the grandmother in the South, and then there's other aha. So we got a lot of different ahas. Put a smile on your face. Have a nice day.
Be well. Hey, Maricela, I saw you unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I was saying that I guess I have to work on being persistent, dedicated, and consistent.
Love that. Yeah, it's a process.
So be over prepared, right?
Be over prepared. Why not? All right, great spending time with y'all today. We're gonna take it, leave it off here. Stay tuned for the next part 2 of this Win with Sellers dialogue, and we're gonna keep the conversation going. By the way, I would expect for everybody here to be opted in to the listing contest. Why not? Why not?
Yes,
Opt
please
in.
email me if you want to
Yeah,
opt
of
into the
course.
contest.
Why not? So we've got everything that you would need. You got the first part of the Win with Sellers already in the books there. So you got understanding. By the way, it's recorded on Facebook. You can go back and watch it on Facebook. It's recorded there on our Facebook channel. And then also we've got scripts and dialogues every single morning. Every single morning, well, Monday minus Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 8:30. So between those 2 things and your 3 hours of time blocking, there's no reason why you couldn't take 3 seller listings over the next 3 months, starting in April. All right. So let's look out for those emails. I would ask for all of you to opt in on that, challenge yourselves, because what's the worst that could happen? All right.
Exactly.
All right, everybody, be well. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. And have a great lunch if you haven't eaten yet.
Great job, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Big thanks to
you very
Derek as
much.
well.
Thank you.
Derek.
Thank you, Mary Jo and Ryan, and everybody putting this together in your time. So be well.